I guess I'm going to be running this back for a third time. Yeah, I guess my OBS is just kind of freaking out my recording software on this one. So we're going to figure out if we can get this one recorded finally for a third time. But it doesn't really change the facts that Ghislaine Maxwell, yeah, she's been found guilty. Not of the entire docket of charges that she was, charged with all of those, well, just about a year ago at this point. But 5 of the 6, so not that bad. But we're not going to know how long she's going to be in jail for. In fact, we're going to have to wait until early 2022. But one of the big gray clouds of 2021 is finally over, because I think she was taken into custody at the end of 2020, and then this trial has been kicked down the road for a long time. So now that we finally got to the end of it, it's kind of like a weight has been lifted off the collective psyche, because okay, a lot of people had interest in this case. I wasn't one of them. I was upfront and honest with that. I think that this is just one of those things where it's just a bunch of people who just like, oh my God, salacious things. Oh my God, big names. Oh my God, they're going to say Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and Donald Trump. They all flew on planes, but were they pedophiles? We can't really prove any of that stuff. Okay, they said big names though. Oh my God, one of the pilots said that, yeah, he definitely recognized all those people that were on the planes, but I don't really know what that really adds to the big collective societal conversation. It doesn't really add that much, at least in my opinion. It's one of those things where I like to talk about trials that just have overarching consequences on society. That's why I talked about Kim Potter, okay, because the way that trial went, well, it really looks like Minnesota or Minneapolis aren't necessarily going to be getting any of the best and brightest, the police officers that are going to be out there. They're just going to be getting a lower class of law enforcement, and justifiably so, because, Derek Chauvin, a preponderance of the evidence there would just lead you to believe that maybe some goofy things were happening there. But did he kneel on George Floyd for 9-ish minutes? Yeah, kind of, sort of. But he was always going to get strung up on that political trial. Sucks to be him, okay? Yeah, so he's going to be going away for a long time, and then he pled guilty to federal charges as well. Like, what the fuck are you on about? And then, Kim Potter, okay? Now it's just, that just reinforced the fact that law enforcement officials can't get honest trials in Minneapolis, okay? And that they effectively, thank you, Matthew Frank, you effectively figured out that you can just make the law whatever you want to. And if you have a sympathetic judge, oh, don't worry, that's fine. I will allow it. Stupid Judge Chu. Just allow him to just invent different interpretations of what the law actually is, and it'll just be totally fine. He can just totally get away with all of that shit. But what is this trial going to do? What is Ghislaine, pedophile? She's been convicted now, so I can say it without any remorse. What is this going to add? Okay, billionaires do a bunch of goofy shit, okay? They fly around on planes. They think that they're above the law. They think they can get away with shit for fucking decades. Cool, okay? She got convicted, and she's probably going to be going away for, well, not as long as she would if she had a dick swinging between her legs. That was in the late 90s. She had a lot more of that. But what's really going to come of this, okay? It's just a bunch of fucking interested people who are out there. It's like, oh my God, say the rich person's name. At the end of this, we're no further along, okay? And some people who are at least close to the case know it's like, yeah, this is just a basic bitch recounting of sex trafficking, okay? Lock the bitch up, okay? And they're just mad, okay? The prosecution, the Fed prosecutors are just big mad that they can't hang more of this stuff on Jeffrey Epstein, mostly because he did a lot of that himself. But let's get into the charges, what she has been found guilty of, okay? Because that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of, she attempted to do things, and then a couple of the charges that she got convicted of, like count number 6, sex trafficking of minors. That's what all the testimony was on about, okay? Like, I was following along with this stuff, okay? Just in case there was anything that came up that was worthy of covering on the channel, okay? Maybe my mind could be changed on this trial that, you know what, it is big news. Maybe there is something that we can talk about. But the verdict came in. It's the same thing that I did with Arbery, okay? It's a noteworthy occurrence, so we got to talk about it. Anyways, all of the testimony, okay, it was sex trafficking of minors. Yeah, obviously she was going to get fucking charged with that. But there's a lot of conspiracies, okay? There's a lot of conspiracy disclaimers that are on 3 of the 5 convicting charges, okay? And then the one that she was found not guilty of was incitement. So she was like, yeah, okay, hey, could you come do this eventually? We'd really like your company. Yeah, no, wasn't found guilty of that. But again, this is one of those things, right? Because this was one of those big cases that was out there. Okay, Kim Potter, yeah, it was one of those highly publicized ones. It was one of those things, though, if you knew, you knew. But outside of that, it was a very, very niche audience. Okay, I still found it interesting. And then you had Juicy Smollett, which, yeah, okay, that one had big overarching consequences. Can you lie? Can you lie and rack up a huge police bill? Can you try to drag half of the country, okay, on the back of you not being satisfied with how much money you make on a TV show? Like, can you stir up a race war and fucking get away with it? I don't think so, okay? And I really wish that trial was televised, because all of the different allegations that was coming out of that courtroom, what a fucking drama fest that was. But shouldn't have expected anything different. But that was one of those cases where I thought it would kind of be the template. I thought it would be the blueprint, okay? Because, yeah, it was 5 days of deliberation here. And again, that's also, okay, not including the 2-day break they got for Christmas that the jury did. Yeah, okay, cool. I don't know if they were sequestered or not. The article here doesn't detail any of that, but one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're going to be sequestered, but you can go home for Christmas, but don't talk about it, okay, with your friends and family over the little bit of a break there, but everybody's going to know that you're on the jury. So yeah, you just try not to discuss the case. It was the exact same thing, but that I can just go ahead and confirm that jury and Kim Potter, they were sequestered. And then stupid Judge Chu was fucking floating the idea of, yeah, no, you guys are sequestered. You go to a hotel room every night and then you just come back in the morning, and that you just deliberate throughout the entire day. But don't worry, over Christmas though, I'll just let you go, but you just don't talk about it and don't go on social media. Like, the fuck that's gonna happen? But I don't know if that happened in this case, but obviously, yeah, it was one of those things where 5 days, this entire case was cut and dry. Okay, the feds wouldn't bring charges. Okay, they wouldn't have a parade of fucking witnesses come out there and bury Maxwell over and over and over again, unless this shit wasn't fucking wrapped up tighter than a nun's box, okay? The feds have like a 95% conviction rate for a very good reason, because if they didn't have such an airtight case, this would just be tried by what, the state of New Mexico, the state of, I don't know what Lolita Island's governed by, but the state of New York. No, this was brought by the big boys because they had a fucking airtight case. So the 5 days of deliberations was shocking to pretty much everybody. So, and then, yeah, not getting a clean sweep on the charges, that was also interesting. But like I said, and I was bringing up Juicy Smollett before we went on the tangent there, which, like I said, I recorded this video 3 fucking times, and we've had different tangents every single time, so I even amaze myself by the amount of shit that I like to talk. But now we can get into the charges, okay, after I make my reference, because I brought up Juicy Smollett, okay? It's one of those things where, okay, yeah, she wasn't found guilty on count 2, okay? So, was it because the jury instructions weren't as clear? Because that's what, in an interview after the trial, one of the jurors for Juicy Smollett, it's like, yeah, we knew he was a fucking liar. Yeah, we knew that this dude was guilty of everything, but the instruction on one of the counts, the only count that they didn't convict him on, it was vague. It was, we didn't really know what evidence we were supposed to put towards in order to find him guilty of it. So, was that another one of those cases? Or because, what is it? Just a little bit down here, the top four charges all stemmed from the testimony of Jane, one of the victims of Maxwell and Epstein. Those first top 4 charges, they were all stemming of her testimony. So was she not terribly clear in what she was saying up there? She was talking about all this shit. Or were the jury instructions not that good? But we'll never know unless one of the jurors, which I can goddamn well guarantee one of the jurors are going to come forth and tell their truth about it. Because what the fuck took 5 days? It doesn't make any sense, okay, from a logical perspective. But you could realpolitik this shit. Anyways, so count 1. Conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Yeah, that was just talked about ad nauseum, okay? Conspiracy, okay? So there were plans in place to entice minors, to solicit the poor, okay? Solicit the cute little girl from the trailer park that, yeah, we could just start taking you over state lines. We got big mansions out there and we can take care of your parents as well. Just as long as you like to come along and, stick weird things up Jeff's butt on the fucking massage table, shit like that. And then conspiracy to transport, count number 3, okay, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Again, a little bit of a difference, a little bit of a distinction. That might be to a different state. That might be to, the fucking Rape Island, whatever you want to call it. Count number 4, transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Well, everybody who was alleged to have been fucked with in the context of this case was underage, so that would be a criminal sexual activity. And then count number 5, and again, another instance where you see this conspiracy or intent, or it was thought about, it was bandied about. That's why all of these charges, it's just like they really, 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 really wanted to pin all this stuff on Epstein, but Maxwell, she was there, so we can go ahead and charge her as well. Conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. Yeah, so there were more kids in the stable. Ugh. And then, yeah, like I said there at the beginning, sex trafficking of minors, that was the entire crux of this shit, and that's basically what all the testimony just bore out, okay, in many more details, okay, in many more hours of testimony, many more thousands of words that were out there. This was just sex trafficking, plain and fucking simple. Yeah, it had some flourishes on top of it. Yeah, it took place in some very fancy locations, but this was just some of the most degenerate shit that you're going to find anywhere. Jury found her not guilty on count 2, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Earlier in the day, the jurors had requested transcripts of 5 witness testimonies, which I find very interesting because normally when a judge dismisses a jury to commence their deliberations, they are told that they aren't going to be supplied with any transcripts, okay? They just have to go on their notes, if that's what the judge allows, or what they have between their ears, their memory of what the testimony was. So it's just very interesting why, and this was something else that was given to them as well, okay? Earlier in their deliberations was another testimony of one of the other witnesses that was out there, so perhaps that's what Judge Allison Nathan, that's the way that she conducts her deliberations, I guess, okay, but maybe everything was thrown off because I don't know if I mentioned this or not. Like I said, I recorded this a bunch. This trial was slated for like 8 or 10 weeks, okay, and it was wrapped up like right now we're supposed to be like in the throes of maybe the end of the prosecution's case in chief, or maybe the defense was supposed to be calling some of their early witnesses, but no, this was just all wrapped up because the facts were the facts, and this was damning, and this has been damning for fucking years. So it was going to be an uphill battle, and if he didn't have it, well, sucks to suck. I guess that's why, because right near the end of the trial, they were, the defense, so they were trying to call some witnesses, okay? One person was a late addition to the witness list. You ain't fucking getting that. And another guy was just dodging subpoenas, okay? He wasn't going to be showing up. And I think another one was being held up in the UK. Like, this shit just wasn't fucking happening, okay? And what would they have really added to it? Oh, yes, yeah, this was mostly just Jeff, and Ghislaine was just a good girl who didn't do nothing. I'm like, fuck off. But yeah, the jurors were off for 2 days at Christmas, and were originally scheduled to have 2 days off for New Year's, but Judge Nathan requested to make them go through, and then magically, hey, guess what? We got her verdict. Fucking weird how that shit happens. At 3 minutes to 5 this evening, all parties were assembled in the courtroom, and Nathan told them, we have our verdict. She asked everyone to remain seated and calm, and reminded them that there were federal marshals in the room in case they were needed. After the verdict was read, she thanked everyone in the room and told them that they were adjourned. Yep, as is customary, okay, nothing too unique about that situation. The testimony of Jane, who testified about her abuse by Maxwell and the deceased financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, started when she was 14, was directly related to counts 1 through 4. Yeah, I think she was one of the early, and I think like the only testimony that we talked about on the channel itself. But it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, it was creepy, yeah, it was depraved, but what's unique about it? Okay, all of this shit sucks, and this stuff like really does make my stomach churn. But, okay, cool. Just convict the bitch. Okay, just throw away the key. Each of the non-conspiracy charges contained elements, up to 4. If the jury decided just one of them wasn't satisfied to the non-conspiracy charges, then Maxwell was not guilty of the entire charge. And that's good. Okay, that's good. There should be elements that the prosecution needs to prove, because I don't want the state just alleging people are guilty of things and then they can just bring, well, we charged them, therefore they're guilty. they should have a burden that needs to be met. They should have a burden of proof, as they do, and they need to prove it 100% crystal clear, beyond a reasonable fucking doubt. Not just invent different laws or different interpretations of the fucking facts. Matthew Frank, Kim Potter trial. Anyways, not salty about that whatsoever. No, of course not. But yeah, now we got somebody who was a little bit closer to the situation who is just recounting exactly what went on. And, you know, I'm pretty sympathetic to what she has to say here, okay? Other than the fact that she's just trying to hawk her book. Anyways, Maggie Krell, a human rights attorney, a former prosecutor in California's Office of the Attorney General, so former ADA, I guess, author of a forthcoming book on sex trafficking, taking down Backpage, had anticipated a quick verdict. Yeah, that's the only thing that's really shocking about this. Everybody knew she was guilty. Everybody knew the crimes that were charged. It was just maybe somebody was just a little bit unclear, and then they were like, fine, fuck it, I don't want to work through New Year's. This is going to be big gay. I want to watch the ball drop. Or maybe, if we want to walk down the conspiracy path, okay, maybe somebody got paid off to be a holdout, and then they get a mistrial, and then they just be able to do this over and over again. Or maybe they'll be able to convince other people that, you know what, she was just a good girl. And it's like, no, I'm not buying any of that for a second. I think we're going to end up getting one of those Jussie Smollett situations where if they would have been a little bit more precise in their instructions, they would have got a clean sweep. But we won't know until we know. In my experience, holiday jurors tend to be decisive. Yeah, because they don't want to work through the holidays. They got families and lives after all, and they only get paid minimum wage at this time. And you see high-priced defense attorneys. Okay, you see a judge who's making six figures up there, and meanwhile you're making like $1.50 and you get a ham sandwich and 45-minute lunch break, and you're in there every single day hearing these grotesque details recounted over and over and over again. Yeah, you'll be fucking decisive. Go figure. And I don't think this case was overly complicated. You just don't learn in law school when jurors are coming back. Krell is well aware of the grooming techniques of potential victims and the prosecution presented in the case. That's how grooming works. It's a classic technique of predators, and it's totally ubiquitous. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it just kind of played out, okay? Like I said, I was paying attention to the case, but it just really seemed like those techniques that like pimps would use, okay? Like they'd have their bottom bitch, they'd have their top girl that goes out there, and the pimp doesn't train any of the hoes that are out there. And I know we're talking about kids, but just go along with the fucking analogy here for a moment. But the bottom bitch goes out there and she trains everybody, okay? Because everybody was, the testimony in this case was, yeah, oh no, Ghislaine wasn't really engaging with anybody. She was just kind of walking around making sex and sexual activities just kind of commonplace. She was walking around without a top. She was walking around without pants, okay? Maybe she was entirely naked. Okay, maybe she was rubbing down Epstein and then telling them to join in. It's like, that's what we're doing here. And okay, you'll get paid a little bit more if you take this thing that's kind of, you know, shaped like a cucumber, only 3 times as wide, and you just start to work it down. And hey, you know what? Maybe I'd like a little bit of that. You can help me out with a little place that I feel a little bit uncomfortable with, and all that kind of fucking goofy stuff. And we're still talking about 14-year-old kids. That's why I wanted to bring in the pimp analogy, okay? Because it's kind of apt, because that's basically, okay, you boil it down, you take away the glitz and the glamour and the gold plating and the fucking jets and the billions of dollars. That's what you had here, okay? You had some glimpse of the lifestyles of the rich and famous, and you realize that all of those billions of dollars that you might be wishing for in your daydreams, they're mostly held by some despicable fucking people. But yeah, like she said, that's how grooming works. It's a classic technique of predators, and it's totally ubiquitous. I couldn't agree more. Krell said that even though Maxwell's case involves famous, wealthy people and private jets, in a lot of ways, it's a very basic sex trafficking case that's playing throughout the country because the techniques are so classic from the trafficker's playbook, and that's the grooming. Yeah, exactly. It only takes one juror not to agree. Finding 12 people to agree is challenging. Yeah, exactly. So somebody just was trying to do their due diligence, just taking jury duty a little too seriously, fucking up somebody's Christmas, but you weren't going to be getting us for New Year's, you bitch. But yeah, so as for the sentence, how long is she going to be in the clink? Some of these counts have a 10-year mandatory minimum. The judge will have to determine what she serves under these circumstances. Judges tend to not go lightly on defendants like this. So, okay, all 5 charges that she got convicted on, let's just say that they all have 10-year mandatory minimums, okay? Will she be serving some of those concurrently? Okay, because 4 of those charges, 3 that were convicted, were all in accordance with Jane's complaints, okay, as she was the affected victim in this. So would all of those charges, those 3 charges, even if they had a 10-year mandatory minimum, would they all be served concurrently? Okay, would they all just be served in one 10-year span? Okay, maybe, don't know. And then the other ones would be tacked on at the end, or maybe the entire swath would just be condensed into a 10-year stay. We don't really know. Okay, and I'd imagine they're probably hammering this out, so maybe mid to the end of January, we'll have a little bit of an update, and that's probably the next time I'll be doing that, because, you know what, like I said at the beginning, I wasn't really that enthralled by the case. Yeah, it's despicable situations, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's not really earth-shattering. This shit happens at a lot less glamorous pace. It just go down to the southern border, you'll see a lot of this shit happening. It just won't have any fancy fucking jet airliners unless, you know what, Biden starts putting more people on public taxpayer-funded flights and just distributing them throughout the country. But I guess for some of these girls, there's a lot less fucking coke getting wrapped up and stuffed in their assholes. But with that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.